You're listening to Verified, a podcast that talks about equity and inclusion. My name is Vanessa. Today I have two very special guests, Leche and Bella.
Hello.
Hi.
So I'm just going to get you to introduce yourselves and your relationship to fashion.
All right. So my name is Leche. I am the founder and creative director of a jewelry company based in Toronto. We make pearl-based jewelry designs ranging from earrings, necklaces, anything of that sort. And that is my relationship to fashion.
Nice.
I'm Bella. I'm in second year fashion comm and with a minor in journalism. And I currently am a writer for Style Circle, which bases a lot of their writing around fashion and the industry in general. So yeah.
Amazing. Sorry, are those your earrings that you have on right now?
Yes,
That's
I don't
so
wear
cute.
anything else.
Plug.
You gotta rep the brand.
So my first question for you both is, what does it mean for you to be fashion conscious? And can you define it just in case there's someone listening and they don't know what that means?
Well, basically being fashion conscious is like taking into consideration the strain the whole industry poses on the environment. It's like the second largest polluter in the world, so it's crazy. So like when fast fashion companies like Forever 21, H&M, a lot of those produce so much of the pollution that we currently are facing. So I think just being fashion conscious is being aware of what the things you're buying do to the environment, because they all correlate. So yeah.
Yeah, I think with fashion consciousness, you're just working towards making decisions and being mindful of those decisions. So this is a huge problem, fast fashion and sustainability in our fashion industry. There is no clear one solution. And I think the biggest fear that people hold is just, I won't be able to get it right. I can't do it. But being fashion conscious is just trying.
Oh yeah.
And just making those little efforts in everything that you do. So that's what it is. Whenever you're buying something, if it's a big purchase or a small purchase, doing a little bit of research, thinking, how can I do this a little more environmentally friendly?
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. I think our generation definitely is paying a little more attention to what we're wearing and where we buy from. The conversations of buying locally is a big conversation, as with your brand as well. And I think people want to partake in it. There's scares of not being able to afford it, although they don't realize that putting all your money into fast fashion is actually not going to anything and benefiting anyone. So that's what I want to drift on to next, is just the way in which we brand ourselves. How does thinking consciously about what you're wearing actually affect your brand?
I think, especially now where climate crisis is so prevalent and everything is basically done on social media, you need to be, in order to be a successful brand, be fashion conscious, because it's becoming slowly more important to millennials and Gen Z, and boomers, they're not really the major consumers anymore. So
yeah,
but I think in order to be successful, you need to partake in that when you're branding yourself, because for example, the piece I wrote on greenwashing, a lot of people think H&M is being fashion conscious and they're doing all these things to make an effort, and then you read that and then it completely changes the demographic and it completely drops their sales. And that's why companies like H&M greenwash, because they're trying to get people like us to continue to shop at their stores. So yeah, I think it's 100% necessary.
I think what got me into making conscious decisions or thinking about the environment was, at first, shopping local, supporting local businesses. I loved that idea. I loved the idea that this piece was thought out. Somebody took their time. This was a dream come true. And if I can contribute to that, I walk away feeling great. But the more I looked into that and started supporting my local businesses, the idea of fast fashion and environmentally friendly choices kept coming up. And as I built my brand, it just became something that I wanted to strive for, to know that whatever I'm making, whatever I'm producing, whatever I'm handing over to you, was made by love by me, but also with love for the environment. And so that's trickled down like subconsciously into what I would purchase for myself, clothing, shoes, Christmas gifts, whatever the case may be, to think about that.
That's a very, very good answers from both of you. A lot, especially nowadays, we're on social media, and a lot of being on social media is about branding your own self, branding your own image. Do you feel like the way in which you brand yourself is actually true to who you are?
I think so. Like obviously I'm still at the beginning stages of branding myself, but I like for like what I put out there to be a representation of who I am, because I think being as transparent as possible is so important for people to relate to you and for people to actually pay attention to the things you do. And like, yeah, I'm really interested in sustainability and mental health and feminism and social justice. And like, I like doing those little call outs on my story. And like, I think it gets people interested. It gets people wanting to pay attention to my account. So yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, social media has been very interesting. I started out and I had no idea about branding. I wasn't thinking about the effect of whatever I was posting. I didn't really think, how will this be received by somebody else? Would this add value? Would this cause anxiety? Would this help you to grow or anything like that? It was just a lot of self-validation and fun. But I've definitely done a lot of growth and change in myself over the last couple of years. With Gaudi alone, the past year, a lot has changed. And I share that on my social media. And I think that's been a big change, is to say, like, I don't believe in this. I don't stand by this. Maybe this would get more likes. Maybe this would get more engagement. But it doesn't add value to anybody. Yeah. So that has definitely been a switch in my branding. I think that I'm working towards being a lot more authentic, being a lot more real, and most importantly, just adding value to whoever is engaging with the content. So I'm working towards being as real and true to myself and my branding.
That's amazing. Going off of that and just being true to yourself, how do you use fashion as a like freedom of expression?
Me, okay. Fashion is definitely a form of expression. I think my relationship with fashion has changed over my time at Ryerson. In the past 4 years, I began, and I just loved it. Like, I would just buy big, colorful jackets and boots, and it was just fun, and it expressed myself, so I got it. But my thinking has changed. It's, I got this from a thrift store, and I went with my best friend, and we spent about 2 hours there, and I just loved these pants because that day was so much fun. So that has changed. I have more of a relationship with my pieces, and instead of them being for a great Instagram post, it's a story that goes into it, and I would want to get 50 wears out of that outfit instead of 5. I've gotten busier throughout my time at Ryerson. Now I'm in my 4th year, juggling Gaudi, juggling school, juggling all these different things. I don't take 2 hours to get dressed in the morning. I don't take time to really plan my outfit out anymore. And my accessories truly have become more of an expression, more of where I have my fun. And so making those sustainable, ethical choices in whatever I'm accessorizing with, that has changed.
And for you, Bella, do you feel like your style tells like a story about who you are?
Definitely. I have always, like, I think when I first discovered fashion, it was always something where I was like, this is how I can stand out, rather than it being like, oh, my personality, like, this is how I can express my personality visually at a first hand. I definitely like pushing the limits, like wearing things that would be considered slutty and would be considered too much. And I like pushing those limits to be like, well, no, I'm confident in myself. And I kind of use that to like tell other women, if they're comfortable, to like do it. Like, who cares what that guy has to say about it? Just like wear what you want, because it's like, I feel so good in my so good when I wear things like that.
Literally a conversation I was having with James today is, I don't know if any of you can relate, but sometimes I'll go to the club. I don't go often. But when I do, I'm feeling super confident in it. I'm like, damn, I look sexy. And then I'll walk on the street and I'm like, oh, I look very different. Yeah. Like, you just feel judged. But you're like, it's just attire. I felt hot like 2 minutes ago. Yeah. Why is there like a sudden change? And it is like with judgment. So leading into my next question, I want to ask if there's ever been a time as like trendsetters that you felt kind of uncomfortable to like wear a certain outfit based off of like the opinions or just like the pushback that you would get for trying something different.
Definitely, like, a lot of things that I wear that are over revealing are tough things to leave the house in, just because you grow up in a society that tells you like you can't wear these things, and if you wear these things, people are going to look at you the wrong way. And there are true dangers, like you can be harassed, and you will. I have been harassed. But like, I remember one time in high school, we didn't have a technical dress code, so I dressed kind of very revealing, and I just remember I was wearing like a bralette with like a cool suede jacket with like fringe, and I had an orthodontist appointment and I had to go and sign out. So the vice principal was talking to me, and it was a woman, and she's like, are you sure you don't want to change before you go to the orthodontist? And I think that was the first time, like, from another woman, like, who was so much older than me, who literally was like just sexualizing me in front of my face, to go to the dentist. Yeah. And I think that was kind of my first experience being like, well, shit, like, people actually judge you based on what you wear, like, with no context as to why you wear it. This is like full on judgment. Yeah.
Why were you wearing it?
Because I felt confident in it. And it was summer and there's no air conditioning in the school. It's hot. And I felt like, I felt cute and I felt confident in my body, and I thought I should have the right to express that.
Yeah.
I am a very curvy Black lady, and it has been a journey to embrace those curves and love those curves and everything that comes with them. I might not be able to get away with things as easily as somebody else would. And that was, as a teenager, that was a process, and adulting, learning. Yes, I can wear whatever I want. How do I want to be perceived? How do I want to interact? How do I want to make other people feel? And also saying, like, I don't really care how I make other people feel. I feel great. So the balance in all of that has been a journey. I think with Finding Gaudi, people do look at you a lot, and I can't show up to class in sweats anymore. I have customers in class who are upholding an aesthetic. I'm upholding that what you see on Instagram is going to be what you see here in our 8 a.m. mandatory class. So I'm always thinking about that. And whatever pieces I'm producing, like, the design process, I have to fight that internal monologue that no one's going to like this. No one's going to wear this. This is so gaudy and ornate. This is so excessive. But then also, I never promised you I was going to make you your everyday pieces. I never said that. I told you these are statement pearl earrings. So in all of these choices of what I'm wearing and what I'm producing, to listen to that inner voice and allow myself to express my creativity and express my self-expression in what I wear.
That's so valid and very poetic. I want to go back to something that you said, Bella, in the telling the story about your one teacher. I feel a lot of times that it's actually women telling each other, like, hey, you can't wear that. Oh, that's a little too revealing. I was very thick, thicker than I am now. I like my curves. But growing up, and my mom used to tell me I can't wear stripes that go across. She told me it makes me look wider. So like the secret in fashion is to like wear stripes going down. So with that being said, just like within the fashion industry, it's very like Eurocentric and you have to look a certain way and a certain image. How do you think the fashion industry could improve, and like what are you doing within your own work to actually push the fashion industry a little bit more?
In terms of body image?
In terms of just diversity all around.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that a lot of plus size fashion isn't actually plus size. And
Amen.
a lot of plus size models aren't actually plus size, and they pad them a lot of the time. And
Really?
yeah,
I did
they
not
pad
know
them to make them larger than they are, instead of hiring actual women with actual curves on their body. I find that fashion brands tend to put plus size women in baggier clothes, and they tend to hide their bodies or do things to make them look like women who have, let's say, a society like a skinnier build. I don't know. Like, that's a tough question because the fashion industry is so shady. Like, they do so many things and they try so hard to make themselves look a certain way. And then you look into things and you're like, no, you're not actually doing any of those things the way you should be.
Yeah.
There are brands coming out with plus wear that basically is for you to like embrace your body. Savage Fenty, like literally,
I love Savage.
Yes.
showing women with curves like how they should be seen, which is naturally. There's no need for airbrushing. There's no need to like, oh, maybe wear a corset to make your like waist look thinner. Like, there's no need for that. It's just embrace your body because that body is sexy. And I think how I try and do that through myself is like trying to post as much confidence as I can on my Instagram, because obviously every girl, every person has body issues and they have trouble loving their bodies. But I think showing that confidence and showing like, here, I don't have a perfect model body. This is my body. I'm bloated today. I'm on my period. I have cramps. I look like I'm 4 months pregnant. Like, but I'm still confident and I'm still wearing what I'm wearing. And I think I've heard from a lot of girls in my program that like my posts like that, like where I'm just showing my body in my underwear, it's helpful to feel like, okay, this is someone who I know and who I see like for 8 a.m. classes looking kind of ridiculous in sweatpants. And she's like loving her body. So I think, just making small steps towards that.
That's very, I like that.
Yeah.
Some confidence over in this corner.
In terms of changing things or looking at the fashion industry and working towards more diversity, I think so it's very easy to feel like, oh, like I am bigger. I have this and I have that and I have this and I have that and oh, like if only. But I think I've actually gotten to the point where I see those things as strengths. I find I can have really authentic, genuine conversations with people off the bat. I'll be shopping and the sales associate will be like, oh, can I, like, whatever. And we'll just start talking about our curves and we'll just start talking about, like, this not going to fit. Like, that's not going to work. And she's like, yeah, like, I got something for you. Don't worry. And she, so my acne, my plus sizeness, my big thighs, my love handles, they're great. You know what I mean? And, like, as somebody now who's producing pieces, I have that insight. And if I can do anything to just empower you and let you know that's your strength, I'm going to do it, I have a collection and we have cellulite, thick thighs, hyperpigmentation. And these are all pieces that we carry and whatever it may be, rock them. You know what I mean? And so those are things that maybe you would hide or feel insecure about, but I'm going to put them on your ears in pearls, and I'm going to let you know it's okay. As well, with any photo that's published or produced, aesthetically pleasing would be like, oh, let's put a filter over this and let's, blemish everything out. But that's not harmful. One photo that goes out, that's not bad, right? But when you're doing it constantly and every other company is doing it constantly and a girl is just constantly seeing all of this on her feed day after day, week after week, month after month, comparing herself and wondering why I don't match up, that one photo matters.
Yeah.
So anything that I put out on Instagram, I try to make sure that it is, it's not going to be edited. I'm going to see your pores and I'm going to see your cellulite and I'm going to see your freckles and, out of place baby hair. And that's just what it is. If somebody doesn't like that, they don't have to look. They can go to Victoria's Secret's Instagram page. They can go to whoever they want and they can find it there. But at the same time, letting girls, big, small, short, tall, whatever your body type is, you're beautiful and there's a space for you.
Yeah. I love that. Saying that, like, cellulite, naming your earrings that, it's like a huge metaphor.
The things that you would want to hide.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that is. I really like that.
Yeah. So both of you actually have platforms that have the ability to reach a lot of people. We have Bella, who writes for Style Mag, and then we have Leche, who actually has her own jewelry company. And I think both of those things are amazing. And the reach that you had, even though I think, too, when we're talking about, like, female issues and female empowerment, we sometimes exclude people who are transitioning. And I think the fashion world actually allows those types of people to express themselves as well. And I think that's super beautiful. So when I use women, I use it generically to mean people who identify as being women, not just the biological. Just disclaimer. But how does fashion allow you to create spaces to empower other women?
Well, obviously, the physical aspect of it. So what you wear and how you perceive yourself and how people see you. I also think that their fashion gives you, like, kind of an androgynous level of things that I think that's becoming way more impactful as of recently, whereas people who identify as men can show up in a skirt and hopefully don't get harassed about, probably will, by like older people, but it's becoming more comfortable for both men and women and anyone in between to kind of express themselves and move along the spectrum a little bit. And I think that's kind of a really beautiful thing, like to see someone like, for example, Jaden Smith, who was in a Louis Vuitton ad and he was wearing a whole skirt, like a traditional feminine outfit. It's empowering and it's beautiful to see, and it kind of allows people to be like, well, I can do that too. Like, why not? So yeah, I think fashion is a great impact on all of those things.
Is there anything you do in particular to create spaces for women?
I think through social media, kind of showing off like different outfits and like how I guess find my creative energy and like all of that stuff, and like showing the fact that I have a pimple and like like I have writer's block and all of these things. I think again going back to the fact that like wearing very revealing outfits, I think that most women are uncomfortable with it, and I think that's kind of my way of being like, be proud of your body, be proud of like your feminine attributes and like show them off, because you have no right to be sexualized. Yeah. In
a weird way, I feel like people grow when they're uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
So if another female is uncomfortable that you're wearing revealing clothing, it's like, okay, check yourself. Why are you uncomfortable?
Exactly.
Which I really like doing that to people. I'm like, let me make you uncomfortable.
Really kind of like, yeah, it lets you like look into things. Like even if I see something and I'm uncomfortable by it, you kind of stop and you wonder, you're like, why? Why does that bother me? Why does it kind of make me cringe? Exactly. And then you can look into that and then kind of change your viewpoints a bit.
I think that's what I've loved so much is when you're starting something like this, you can do whatever you want. You can dictate however things are going to go. And as I've grown and as I've learned and as I've met more people, my boundaries have been pushed and my understanding has been pushed and broadened. Drag queens love gaudy. So we have a lot of drag queens and we do custom pieces. That has been so much fun, so much creativity. Coming to me with these designs, and I'm like, wow, like I would never have thought about that. Let's do it.
That's so cool.
That is really cool.
I love that.
So that has been very fun, and meeting this whole new community of vibrant, energetic, fashion-loving people. That is one thing that I really think the fashion industry has done, but not enough and not good enough.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do more, and we're gonna do it better. As well, throughout everything that I do with Gaudy, the message is adornment for your girl boss journey. So I find that can be isolating, perhaps, for people. Maybe it's something I should think about rebranding. But the idea is, do not take yourself out of the running before you've even tried. Whatever obstacle you are going through or challenge that you're facing, we want to adorn you while you go through it, right? The idea behind a pearl, people are like, why pearls? Like the shell of an oyster. I've said this so many times, but I'm like Lady Gaga every time she has an interview. But an oyster shell, a little piece of dust floats into the shell. And the oyster's immediate reaction is to release this little liquid, and it embodies this cluster of dirt. And over time, under pressure, that cluster actually forms a pearl. And then you open up the shell and you have this gorgeous pearl. But what that symbolized for me was that you're down and under. Things suck. Like, this is horrible. Like, I've fallen and I cannot get up. But you get a pearl out of that, you know? So whatever piece you're wearing, the names speak to it. Like, it's the first day of your internship. It's boy, bye, you're going through a breakup. Wear this during your triumphs and your battles, and let it bring you empowerment. Let it bring you joy and adornment. I
love that you do that. That is so inspiring.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Okay. And we briefly spoke about like the Eurocentric, industry and just like the traditional definitions of beauty. I did a project my first year of university where I asked women of all ages and of all ethnicities, body types, to just define what beauty meant to them. So I want to ask that question here today as well.
Do you want to go first?
Beauty. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I've always found that I like things that other people didn't like. I just thought that was gorgeous, and I was just gonna rock that. And somebody else would be like, "Really? You sure? You really want to do that?" At the end of the day, most of the time it's worked out. But truly, beauty is if you like something, if it brings you joy, if there is meaning in it, whatever it is. If you're picking a piece of jewelry, if you are shopping for a Christmas gift for your mom, if you are walking on home and you see a leaf on the side of the road, like that's beauty. Yeah, those little moments, anything that brings joy. Yeah.
I think beauty can literally be whatever you want it to be, as long as it, like you said, brings joy to you and doesn't also harm other people while producing this joy for yourself. I think literally beauty can be, I think everyone has their own definition of it. And I don't know, I've never been asked that. So it's kind of hard, but I think the only thing I can really think of is like, it's whatever you want it to be and whatever makes you happy. Yeah.
In terms of, like, if we're talking about physical beauty, young people, all right, you're not going to like the way you look.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rare for you to be, like, 14 years old and be like, I'm gorgeous. This is great. I love everything that God did here. You know what I mean? you fall in love with yourself as you get older. So if there's anyone listening to this who is like 20 and younger, it's okay to be ugly. You're going to love those things later on. They're going to give you personality. They're going to toughen you up. That weird nose, that like, you know, lumpy knee, whatever the case may be, it's going to be part of you later on.
100%.
Yeah, I can testify to that. Everything I didn't like before, now I'm like, ooh.
Yes, it becomes your asset.
Yeah.
100%.
I like the toughening up part because I feel like that's why you grow so strong to like the attacks that you're like, no, I actually like this about me. And you start defending it.
Yes.
And that actually creates like your mentality. Like, I am beautiful. I do like this about me.
Yeah.
It's hard though. Like, I think I'm gorgeous. And that was years of confidence I had to get built up. But all of my siblings look different. And I also think they're all beautiful too. That question of like, what makes you beautiful? Every time I ask a woman, they're always taken back and they're like,
crazy
I've
question.
never thought about it. Or they say, in the eye of the beholder, I don't want to think about it. I just want to move on. But it's when you have to think about why you see things through a different lens and what attracts you and what doesn't, you start really dissecting yourself. And I think people don't realize that it's a tricky question because you see it all the time. But it's to look into yourself and actually give a meaningful answer. You're like, whoa, that's deep. So moving on to sustainability. A part of being like fashion conscious is also keeping up with trends and having up-to-date fashion, whether or not you're thinking critically about it or not. So how do you do your part in being sustainable?
Research, lots and lots and lots and lots of research. You need to be able to see what companies are saying and what's actually true in what they're saying, because they will lie to make people to like continue buying their things. I think one thing that's super impactful is thrifting. I've like grown to love it, and vintage shopping as well. And these pieces last you like a million times longer than a shirt from H&M would last you. So yeah, I think definitely 100% I do my research and learning about it, because it's so important right now in my program. They teach it to us a lot of the time. You become more aware of these things. And I think just opening your eyes and like understanding that these things are all like connected. What you buy is connected to what ends up in a landfill in like a third world country. So yeah, I think that's just research is my main kind of point.
I think I've only been around for a year, less than a year. Right now, there's, especially in the last couple months, there's been a lot of growth. And whenever making a decision, it's been, okay, like, is this from the mind? Is this from the soul? Is this like from the heart? Like, is this from your ego? How do you want to proceed here? Being like a one-man show, I can make those decisions and I can say, you know what? I'm not going to do that because it's unethical, purely and simply. There have been like great opportunities that would be money, but saying like no, like and doing that. I've also had to decide, you know, I'm probably not going to be your one-stop shop for super trendy pearl pieces. My business model doesn't allow for that. I cannot produce something overnight. Like, if you think about the fact that, like, Kim Kardashian can wear something on the runway today and it's on Fashion Over tomorrow, like, that's crazy. Yeah. Like, how does that happen, right? Not gonna be able to do that, not willing to participate. So everything that I design is more of a unique take, and it comes from, like, inspiration, and I'll get an idea for a piece, I'll research it, I'll research the pieces that go into it, the components, and I'm going to take my time with it. I'm trusting that if you are purchasing from Gaudi, you like that this is a small business, you like that this is handmade, you like that this is sustainably produced and that thought went into it, so you don't need the piece. I'm not doing express shipping. I'm like, it'll get to you within a week or two, and it will be made with all of those components taken care of.
So how has social media influenced or impacted you?
I think it's done both positively and negatively. I had got social media when I was Instagram specifically, probably in like the 8th grade. So pretty young.
Yeah.
Like I was pretty young.
I think I'm guessing ages now in my
Yeah,
my
8th
head.
grade. How old are you in 8th grade? Like 12?
Wow.
12 or 13. And to like it kind of opens you up into a world of like, oh my God, like who are all these people? Who are all these connections? Who like, how are they dressing like this? Where do they
Yeah.
get their inspiration from? So in that sense, it was very positive because it allowed me to express myself. But then with that expression comes comparisons. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've looked on Instagram and just like wanted to cry or like looked up diets to make myself look that certain way. And this is like when thigh gaps were very much like
Brutal.
Yeah, it was all over Tumblr. Oh my God, y'all remember Tumblr?
Thighs need to touch, if they do.
Yeah. So this is when thigh gaps were like big. And I did everything in my power. Like I wouldn't eat, I would work out every day, and not in a good way, not to like get something good for my body, but to look how every other girl I saw looked. But then those things switch and you realize that, this isn't helping me. And I think one thing that I saw, one influencer I was following, and she said, if someone makes you feel like shit about yourself, unfollow them. And you never really think of that, to just unfollow them, because you're like, well, they're inspiring. Well, no, they make me feel like shit.
Yeah.
So like, why would you pay attention to everything they do every day? And I think that's super, super, super helpful. Just unfollow them. They're not going to get mad. They don't care.
Yeah.
But right now, I think my relationship with social media is way more positive. I like putting things out there. I like making people feel good. It's how I express myself. And it's how I can promote my work and promote my writing. And I think it's a good tool, but you need to know how to use it correctly to make yourself also happy.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I like the notion of just like, they're not going to care, just unfollow them if they're not benefiting your life. I've also done that with ex-friends or people who I've just spiritually, I'm a very spiritual person. And I get just bad energy and bad vibes just overnight. Yeah. I'll just be like, ooh. And when I see like their pictures come up on my Instagram, I feel that in my soul.
Exactly.
So it's nothing personal to just unfollow someone. And it's not, it really, and when you hear it all the time, like it's not you, it's me. It's just like my soul is not connecting with you. I'm just going to unfollow you. And I feel so peaceful. And it's just like, I follow motivational quotes because if I'm on it, and I will admit I'm on it way too much. This is how I found both of you. I'm going to like use it as a board, like a Pinterest, but productively with motivational quotes or people who I look up to and admire before I really knew you as following you. And I thought you were very inspiring. And then I saw your article on Style Circles, shout out to them. And it was good writing, good pieces. So I was like, these are the type of people who I'd want to share their stories. And I think those are the type of people that students or just anybody, humans should just follow in general, like real natural people who have things to say that are good. But I will let you speak.
Love that. So the question was about social media?
Yes. How has it influenced you?
Okay. Yeah, I got Instagram in grade 10. I was about 15, 16 years old. Way too young to know what I was doing. A lot of validation seeking. I look back at what I was posting and I was like, oh my gosh, Leche, you need like to go home. Like, what were you doing? It was not about self-love. It was not about empowering other people to love their bodies or whatever. It was validation seeking. Don't like it. So have cleared out my feed a couple of times because I think now Instagram is your business card. It's your resume. It's your handshake in the door. Like whatever you post is really a reflection of who you are and what you believe, whether we like it or not. It is how people perceive you, So just being very aware and conscious of what you're posting. As well, what you're looking at, what you what you perceive is what you conceive. Whatever you're seeing, like, it's going to be what you're thinking about on a daily basis. It's going to be how you validate your decisions. And so I've done big sweeps where you just unfollow anything that makes you feel like garbage. Like you were saying, Bella, like, you need to be so aware of, how does this make me feel? And that comes with a lot of self-reflection. That comes with a lot of thoughtfulness, and just being, once again, very conscious of what you're allowing yourself to take in on a daily basis. Now social media is very positive. I found beautiful people who look like me, that don't look like me, that challenge me to think differently, that challenge me to keep thinking the way I'm thinking about certain things. And so, yeah, I want to encourage people to do that, to take that step. If you feel like there's somebody in your circle or somebody in your social group that you cannot unfollow, but you know that they're having a negative impact on you, you can mute them.
I love muting people.
Mute, right down there. So they don't know. Nothing happens. You just don't have to see it.
Yeah.
Right?
I should have did that.
Yeah, because sometimes something it can bring up some awkward moments.
Oh, yeah.
Muting is powerful. That was good on Instagram. Lastly, I think that social media really created a space for creativity in myself to be fostered, to see the potential in things. I don't think I would have started Gaudi without Instagram. When I started Gaudi's Instagram, I followed like Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, and my boyfriend. And that was it. And like, yeah, but would I have done that without Instagram? No. You know, those were the people that inspired me and slowly gave me the confidence to post more and more. So following those positive accounts, there are great accounts out there. Find them and allow yourself to enjoy.
If you could recreate the meaning of verified, how would you define it?
I would say, to be verified on Instagram, you need to be consciously thinking about what you're putting out there. If you are like, as your creator, once you begin to have a little bit of a following, once you begin to realize people are messaging you and being like, oh, that was great, or like, what about this? And what do you think about that? Like, people now, they care about what you think. Once you get to that point, you need to write down a couple questions for yourself and think before you post. Does this mark every box? Is this whatever your criteria is, but consciously thinking through what you're posting, because it affects people. Yeah.
Well, I definitely shouldn't. I don't think it should be based on how much money you have, because you do have to buy your verification. And some people who literally are like, you're like, why are they verified? Because they have money. I think it shouldn't be based on that. And I don't think there should be people who who like go against what they kind of say just to profit. The Kardashians do it all the time, how they want to promote all of these things, and then let me also promote fit tea because you want to be skinny, and it doesn't make any sense. And even other influencers do it all the time, where they have a little following and then they become sellouts. I don't think that's okay, and I don't think that should be what defines being verified. I think it needs to be, like you said, a list of social values, and it needs to be something that creates a positive space for creatives and just for people who are using Instagram for fun. But yeah. In
one word, what does it mean to verify yourself?
Brutal.
Work. Yeah. Brutal work. A lot of work. Sacrifices. Yeah.
Love. As corny as that sounds. Made with love, done with love. Anything done in love is okay, I mean, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think transparency is my final answer.
I like that.
Transparency.
Love and transparency. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today on Verified. I'm so glad that you blessed me with this. Thank you to all of our listeners. Plug in your Instagrams.
bxlla.p, bixla.p. And check me out on Style Circle. I have 2 articles out, and I have one coming out this week.
Gaudi Inc. GAUDIINC. We have a Christmas campaign coming out, but this will not be aired for a while, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it won't be.
I'll have multiple articles posted
Yeah.
by the time this is aired.
Yeah, just follow us on Instagram. Gaudi Inc.